The annual Thompson family portrait session was Mom's attempt to capture what she called our family's professional achievements for the holiday cards. This year's theme focused heavily on celebrating my brother Michael's completion of his surgical residency, with elaborate positioning that showcased his medical credentials while carefully minimizing my presence. "Michael, you stand center," Mom directed with military precision, adjusting his crisp white coat for the photographer. "The stethoscope adds such a nice professional touch. Everyone will know immediately that you're a doctor." At 31, Michael had finally completed his training and secured a position at Metropolitan General Hospital. The family's pride was palpable. Their son had achieved the respectability they'd craved for decades. "And Sophia," Mom continued with notably less enthusiasm, "you can stand over there. Maybe lose the business casual look? You're not exactly established yet." Established. At 29, I'd been running Neural Path Technologies for 7 years. But since my company didn't fit their understanding of legitimate business, my achievements remained invisible in family photographs and conversations. "Sophia's still playing around with her computer thing," Dad explained apologetically to the photographer as if my presence required justification. "Michael's the one with the real career. Emergency surgery, life or death decisions, that's what actual responsibility looks like." The photographer nodded politely while adjusting lighting around Michael's heroic stance. The narrative was clear. One child had achieved professional success, while the other remained in some vague preparatory phase of adult development. "When will Sophia transition to something more stable?" Aunt Margaret inquired with the tone reserved for discussing wayward family members. "Surely she's realized by now that these tech startups are just elaborate hobbies. We're hoping she'll consider medical school eventually," Mom replied optimistically. "She's certainly smart enough. Maybe follow Michael's example and pursue something that actually helps people." Something that actually helps people. Neural Path's AI diagnostic platforms had processed over 2 million medical scans this year, identifying early-stage cancers that traditional methods missed. But since my contribution to healthcare existed in software rather than surgical suites, it remained incomprehensible to their definition of meaningful work. "Michael's already saving lives every day," Dad announced proudly, repositioning his son for another shot. "Real impact, tangible results. Not these theoretical tech projects that might or might not ever amount to anything." Theoretical tech projects. Our latest algorithm had improved diagnostic accuracy by 37% across 15 hospital systems, but algorithmic achievements couldn't compete with the dramatic appeal of emergency surgery narratives. "Sophia should really network with Michael's colleagues," suggested my cousin Jennifer, whose own career in pharmaceutical sales had earned family approval. "Hospital administrators, medical device companies, that's where the real opportunities are. Not these startup fantasies." Startup fantasies. I checked my phone discreetly, noting 3 missed calls from our CFO and a text marked urgent. Wall Street Journal calling for final comment before tomorrow's print edition. Series D announcement creating major market movement. The irony was exquisite. While my family dismissed my work as unstable experimentation, financial journalists were preparing to report on the largest Series D funding round in medical technology history, $3.8 billion valuing Neural Path at over $15 billion. "We're so proud of Michael's dedication to medicine," Mom announced to the photographer as if documenting this sentiment for posterity. Finally, someone in the family chose a career that actually matters to society. Finally. The implication that Michael's traditional success had redeemed our family's professional reputation after my embarrassing detour through technology entrepreneurship. "Sophia's contributions are different," Michael said diplomatically, though his tone suggested he shared the family's assessment of relative importance. "Tech has its place, I suppose. But when you're actually holding a scalpel, when someone's life is literally in your hands, that's real responsibility." Real responsibility. Our AI platforms operated in 43 countries, processing diagnostic data that informed treatment decisions for millions of patients. But digital responsibility apparently couldn't compete with the tangible drama of surgical intervention. "The medical field respects proven expertise," Dad continued authoritatively. "Years of education, rigorous testing, board certifications. Not like these tech companies where 20-somethings think they can revolutionize industries they don't understand." 20-somethings revolutionizing industries. The phrase was delivered with obvious skepticism, as if the concept was inherently absurd rather than the foundation of modern medical advancement. My phone buzzed again. The Wall Street Journal was moving their publication timeline forward. Something about leaked information forcing early disclosure. In approximately 18 hours, every major business publication would be covering NeuralPath's record-breaking funding round and my position as the youngest female CEO to achieve unicorn status in medical technology. "Let's get one more shot with just Michael," Mom requested. "Something really captures his professional achievement. Sophia, you can maybe check your emails or something." Check my emails. Where billion-dollar funding announcements waited for my approval. The photo session continued with Michael as the undisputed star, each shot designed to capture his medical authority and professional gravitas. The photographer had repositioned him near the window, natural light highlighting his stethoscope and hospital identification badge. "This lighting really emphasizes the medical setting," the photographer observed professionally. "Michael, your surgical training shows in your posture. Very commanding presence." Commanding presence. The family beamed with pride as Michael projected the kind of confident authority they understood and respected. His career trajectory made sense. Medical school, residency, hospital position, eventual private practice. Clear progression, measurable success. "Michael's already being considered for chief resident next year," Dad announced to anyone within hearing distance. "The hospital recognizes natural leadership ability. That's what happens when you commit to a serious profession." Serious profession. The comparison remained unspoken but obvious. Michael had chosen medicine while I'd chosen whatever it was I did with computers and complicated business plans they'd never bothered to understand. "The starting salary for surgical residents is quite competitive," Aunt Margaret noted approvingly. "Real financial security, excellent benefits. Not like these gig economy jobs that disappear without warning." Gig economy jobs. NeuralPath employed over 1,200 people across 6 countries. But since our operations existed in software development rather than traditional manufacturing, my family perceived it as somehow temporary or unstable. "Sophia's always been the artistic one," Mom explained diplomatically to our extended family gathering. "Creative, innovative, but not quite practical." Michael inherited the analytical mindset necessary for real scientific work. Real scientific work. Our research team included 8 PhD holders in machine learning, for medical doctors specializing in radiology, and collaboration agreements with Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic and Stanford Medical. But algorithmic research apparently didn't qualify as legitimate science. "The medical field demands precision," Michael added with practiced authority. "Life or death decisions based on years of rigorous training. There's no room for experimentation or guesswork when patients' lives are at stake." No room for experimentation. Our AI models had undergone 3 years of clinical trials, peer review by medical journals, and approval from regulatory agencies in 17 countries. But traditional medical training apparently trumped technological innovation in the family hierarchy of legitimate expertise. "Sophia should really consider returning to school," suggested Jennifer earnestly. "MBA program, maybe medical school like Michael. Something that provides actual credentials rather than just whatever she's been doing." Whatever she's been doing. I excused myself briefly to take a call from our legal team. Final details about tomorrow's announcement, media strategy coordination, and preparation for the investor relations meetings that would follow the Wall Street Journal coverage. "Is that work calling again?" Mom asked with obvious irritation when I returned. "Sophia, you're missing Michael's moment. This is about celebrating real achievements, not getting distracted by business complications." Business complications. The call had been about coordinating interviews with CNBC, Bloomberg, and Fortune magazine regarding what financial analysts were calling the most significant medical technology advancement since digital imaging. "Michael never gets work calls during family time," Dad observed pointedly. "That's the difference between stable employment and these startup ventures that consume your entire life without delivering actual security." Stable employment. Michael's resident salary was roughly equivalent to what our company spent on legal fees each quarter. But his hospital paycheck represented predictability while my venture remained mysteriously profitable without visible explanation. "The photography is almost finished," the photographer announced, reviewing the session's shots on his camera display. These images really capture Dr. Thompson's professional achievement beautifully. Dr. Thompson. The title carried weight that CEO apparently didn't in my family's assessment of legitimate success. Medical degrees commanded respect. Technology leadership remained abstract and somehow less substantial. Through the photography studio's windows, I could see the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the city's business district. In approximately 16 hours, every major newspaper's business section would feature stories about neural path's record-breaking funding, my personal net worth crossing the billion-dollar threshold, and our company's position as the leader in AI-driven medical diagnostics. One final group shot, Mom requested, positioning Michael prominently in the center while I remained strategically placed at the photograph's edge. This will be perfect for our holiday cards. Everyone will see that we raised a real doctor. A real doctor. In 14 hours, they discover that their real doctor worked at a hospital now partially funded by their supposedly impractical daughter's medical technology company. Sometimes family photographs capture more than intended. Sometimes they document the moment before everything changes. The Wall Street Journal's morning edition hit newsstands at exactly 6 a.m., with Neural Path Technologies dominating the business section's front page. The headline was impossible to ignore. Medical AI unicorn secures record $3.8 billion Series D, valuing company at $15.2 billion. My phone had been ringing since 5:30 a.m. CNN Business, CNBC, Bloomberg all requesting interviews about becoming the youngest woman to achieve decacorn status in healthcare technology. But first I had a family breakfast to attend. Did everyone sleep well? Mom asked cheerfully as we gathered around the kitchen table, yesterday's photo session still fresh in everyone's minds. Michael, you looked so professional yesterday. The hospital will love seeing those portraits. Michael smiled confidently, adjusting his hospital ID badge even at breakfast. The chief of surgery mentioned that positive publicity benefits the entire medical team. Professional representation matters in healthcare. Dad spread the morning newspaper across the table, business section facing down while he focused on local news and sports scores. The irony was perfect. The biggest business story of the year was literally underneath his coffee cup. Sophia, are you planning to do anything productive today? Mom inquired with maternal patience. Maybe start looking into those graduate programs we discussed? You can't stay in this experimental phase forever. Actually, I said calmly, I think you should check the business section of your newspaper. Dad flipped the pages absently. Business news is so complicated these days. All these tech companies with impossible valuations. His voice died mid-sentence. What is it? Mom asked, noticing his sudden stillness. Dad's face had gone completely pale, his eyes fixed on the Wall Street Journal's front page. The photograph accompanying the article showed me in the Neural Path boardroom, surrounded by medical equipment and flanked by our chief medical officer and lead researchers. This has to be a mistake, he whispered. Michael leaned over to read the headline aloud. Sophia Thompson, 29, revolutionizes medical diagnostics through artificial intelligence, securing largest Series D funding in healthcare history. The kitchen fell silent except for the sound of Mom's coffee cup hitting her saucer with sharp precision. Listen to this, Michael continued reading, his voice increasingly strained. Thompson's AI platforms have processed over 2.8 million medical scans, identifying early-stage cancers missed by traditional diagnostic methods. Her company's technology operates in 847 hospitals worldwide, including Metropolitan General. That's my hospital, Michael interrupted himself, his professional confidence cracking completely. I pulled out my phone and opened the hospital's staff directory. Michael, you might want to check your employee portal. NeuralPath acquired 30% of Metropolitan General's diagnostic equipment last quarter. You've been using my AI systems for surgical planning since January. The silence stretched as the implications settled. Their real doctor had been enhanced by their impractical daughter's technology for months without realizing it. The article mentions your net worth, Dad said weakly, still staring at the newspaper. Approximately $1.3 billion according to today's valuation, I confirmed quietly. Mom set down her coffee entirely. But you work from home. In sweatpants. I work from my home office managing operations that improve medical outcomes for millions of patients annually. The sweatpants are an executive privilege. Michael's stethoscope suddenly seemed very small compared to the scope of influence described in the Wall Street Journal's coverage. Their family photos had captured the moment before everything changed. Now they were living in the everything after. The transformation was immediate and complete. Within days, Michael's colleagues at Metropolitan General were requesting introductions to his brilliant sister, whose technology powered their most advanced diagnostic equipment. His confident assertions about real medical work became embarrassing memories when his surgical success rates improved measurably using neural paths AI guidance systems. Mom's volunteer organizations restructured their boards rapidly when they discovered they'd been overlooking a billionaire philanthropist who'd been sitting in their own family holiday photos. Her dismissive comments about startup fantasies became uncomfortable reminders of missed opportunities for major donations. Dad's insurance company lost several corporate clients who preferred working with firms whose executives understood innovation rather than mocked industry-leading medical technology companies. His skepticism about impossible tech valuations seemed less insightful after his daughter's company exceeded every projected milestone. The family photos from that session became legendary within extended family circles. The last images captured before they realized which child had actually made it, in ways that mattered to Wall Street rather than just hospital cafeterias. 6 months later, Michael had learned to speak differently about his sister's work. Not because he understood artificial intelligence any better, but because dismissing billion-dollar medical technology companies made him look uninformed rather than professionally superior. The holiday cards featured a revised narrative. Instead of celebrating our family doctor, they highlighted our family's contributions to advancing healthcare through both traditional medicine and innovative technology. Sometimes small businesses scale beyond imagination. Sometimes the family disappointment revolutionizes the industry that everyone else just works within. The billions appeared exactly when they were supposed to.